Today I'm going to show you the one simple indicator that every trader needs to become a master scalping machine. It's called the VWAP, Volume Weighted Average Price. This is the most widely used indicator for the pro traders, banks, and institutions. And there's a good reason for that, because when used correctly, it's hard to beat the power and accuracy of the VWAP. There's nothing like it. But here's the thing. In order for you to unlock the true power of the VWAP, you have got to be able to use it like the professional traders do. Otherwise, it's just another noisy indicator on your charts. And that is the last thing that you need. What you need is something that's clear, concise, and powerful that can help you break through the barriers that may be in front of you right now. And the VWAP can do that for you. By the way, my name is Doug and I've been day trading since 1999. And today I'm going to show you how to use the VWAP in a way that most people don't know how to. Like the pros use it, like the banks use it, and like I've been using it over the last several years to consistently make monthly profits in the market like this. And as always, everything I show and say today, I'm going to back it up with a series of live trades. That way you'll know how to trade the VWAP like a pro. So let's go. All right, so the time has come for you and I to get down to business here with this VWAP. But before we get involved in all the juicy details, we have got to make sure that we are all on the same page by having this VWAP set up correctly on our charts. If we want to trade it like the pros, the banks, and the institutions, that's where we have to start. So the first thing that we need to do is take whatever chart we are trading and pull it up on the screen right now. Now, no matter what asset is on that chart, no matter what time frame is on that chart, I don't care about that right now. We're going to get into that here in just a second. But for now, let's get this thing set up correctly. And what we need to do is make sure that chart has 24-hour or pre and post market data enabled on it. Now, for all of you out there that may be trading things like 24-hour markets, foreign currencies, cryptos, commodities, you don't have to worry about this part. It's going to have that in it. But for those that are trading stocks and for some brokerage accounts, futures, you must make sure that is enabled because we need a collection of all 24 hours of data to get the indicator to work properly for us. Now, I'm using this TradingView platform right here. And if you're using that, you can go down into the lower right corner and you will see this thing that says ETH. Make sure that is selected. You'll have regular trading hours and electronic trading hours for them. Click electronic trading hours, but just make sure that's set. If you're using another platform, usually you'll go up and towards the top of the chart, there'll be some sort of search function or there'll be some sort of settings in either your general or time tabs inside of that brokerage software. Let's make sure we have that. Pretty easy stuff. Now, once that's done, let's move to the part now where we're setting this VWAP up correctly after we've enabled this 24-hour data. So I have a 5-minute chart here, for example, and I'm going to just go up here into the indicator list and I am going to manually search for VWAP. Again, just about every brokerage software or platform you're using is going to give you some sort of drop-down menu or feature, and we're just going to click on volume weighted average price, and that's going to leave us in most cases with a series of 3 different lines on the charts. Now, we do not need all 3 of these lines. We just need the center line, and that's the one we want to focus on. Now, if you're really excited about looking at a lot of lines on your chart and they're cute and you like them, well, you can leave them there, but they bear no relevance to what we're doing. So in this platform, all you have to do is just click on that to select it. You can come up into the settings menu and you will see the VWAP is selected, and we want to take away the upper band and the lower band that is given to us and just hit OK, and there is your VWAP. It's that simple. So once you've had that 24-hour data enabled and you've got the center line selected only, that should give you the accurate reading that you need for the VWAP. So now that we've got this VWAP set correctly here on our charts, let's get into the juicy stuff, which is, what does that line mean? It means based off of a collection of the entire day's volume, that line represents what the price of that instrument should be trading at. Now, I want you to take that word should, I want you to put it right there in the back of your brain, because we're going to come back and visit that thing here in just a second, but that's what the price should be. But this is why earlier I mentioned that your time frame is irrelevant, and this is the beauty of the VWAP, because it's collected on volume and not price, the translation is universal no matter what time frame. Again, that's why so many use it and why it's so popular. So for example, I have the ES futures, which on a 5-minute chart, if you look up here towards the top, but if I kind of cursor over top of the VWAP, it's telling me it's 55.05. And if I move to a 1-minute chart, I may get a different chart perspective from this, but the VWAP is still 55.05, bearing the same relevance, which I'll show you here. And if I go to a 1 hour, for example, different perspective maybe, but it's still 55.05. So again, it's universal. That's what makes it so widely used and makes it so powerful. But let's kind of back up here a little bit because there's something else I want to talk about. A lot of that's known, but let's get into the more deeper details here. There's an easier way for the trader to look at this to get the data they need. An easier way that I have found is look at VWAP as fair market value, meaning that no matter what is going on in this world, good news, bad news, tariffs, disagreements, agreements, happy times, bad times, all known relevant information surrounding this entire globe is baked into this chart right now at this moment in the now, and that's what it's telling me based off of the market participants. That's what the price should be. Now, what do we do with information like this? Well, if something is trading above the VWAP, it could be an indication of a couple of things. Maybe at that moment in time, the demand for that asset is very, very high. That could be a bullish signal to some traders. It could be an emotional event where maybe the market's gotten a little frothy. It's gotten a little emotional and kind of overbought there in the short pocket of time. Now, does these things matter to the overall trend? Not necessarily, but for scalpers and day traders, this is vital information to just figure out trends, to get on the right side and determine whether or not your trades are going to work. The inverse relationship would be the same down towards the bottom. That would mean at that moment in time, the demand isn't very high. Like now, it's not very high. The market does not want to own it. And why they don't want to own that asset could be for numerous reasons. Maybe it is bearish and it's a risk-off market and nobody wants to own it. It could also be an emotional event where there's been panic or a news thing released and it's caused the market or whatever asset you're trading to trade below it. And of course, if it's trading right there at it, the VWAP, then it is fair market price, and that could be translated in many different ways. It's also a good tool to use in determining the strength of a trend and manufacturing quality trades. So if we take a look here, for example, the S&P 500, this ES, is currently trading below its VWAP. So the demand isn't there at this current moment to own this asset. Again, set personal feelings and future projections aside. We don't have any room for that as scalpers and day traders, but that's what that translation would be. Now, other traders, more experienced traders, may look back at this and say, you've also had a very difficult time, if you've noticed, staying above that VWAP, creating the demand for that asset. So it can be a great trend dictator telling us what we should do and how we should position ourselves in the future for the trades that we make. And again, like I said, it's universal across all time frames and assets. So for my friends out there who may trade foreign markets or other types of markets like gold, for example, what is the translation you get from gold? It's trading very close to the fair market value. For those who trade something like Bitcoin, here's a current chart of Bitcoin. Where are you? You got the same kind of viewpoint as you do with the S&P or ES. You have an asset that's trading below that VWAP. The demand is not there, and it's continually stayed under the VWAP for quite some time. But you know what? All of that stuff is pretty elementary when it comes to learning about the VWAP. And for you guys who've traded it and studied it, you already know this. And in the introduction, I promised you I was going to show you a way to trade this thing like no one else. So here it goes. I'm going to back this chart out here for just a second. Let's say this is going to be your first challenge or your first quiz. And I just want you to take a look at this chart, along with the VWAP, along with the price of the instrument. And I want you to tell me, do you see anything that's unique, that is interesting, that's repetitive, that's a nuance? Is there anything that your eyes can register with here right now? Don't worry if you don't know. We're going to get into that here in just a second. And here it is. You remember the part where I told you the VWAP is where it should be? The way I like to look at VWAP and the way I've gotten the most out of it is I look at it like two long-lost lovers who are suffering from a severe case of separation anxiety. If you look at this chart, they never stay apart for any length of real time. At certain pockets, yes, they do, but somehow they always get reconnected. So take a look at what you have here in the chart. And it's going to be this way for anything you're trading. You'll have prices that will go below the VWAP, but they'll reconnect. They'll go above the VWAP, but reconnect. And it keeps doing that. Above, reconnect, below, reconnect, above, reconnect, over and over and over again. And it's so accurate that even now, today, when you're under an extreme market duress with fresh tariffs in the mind of all these traders and investors, market's been trading under the 50-day moving average for what seems like an eternity now, it still does the same thing. You got below that VWAP and you revisited it. You went below that VWAP, you revisited it. And now that you're below that VWAP, there's a good chance you will come back and revisit it. Now, there's two ways, only two ways, guys, that this happens. It's going to happen. So there are very few guarantees in the market. And this is why I love the VWAP, because that is a guarantee. They will, in fact, reconvene with one another here in the future. And it's going to be by two means and two means only. And that's when we're going to just crush this market with the edge that I'm going to show you. Number one, either this price stops moving lower right now and allows that VWAP to catch up to the price. That's one. The other is it just bounces right back into the price. That is going to happen, one or the other. And that's going to be a segue into the trade strategies that I am going to show you right now. The first is going to be something we call the separator. The second is going to be the kiss pivot. So let's get into those strategies right now. So the first strategy we're going to talk about here is called the separator, and this is self-explanatory. What we're going to do is we're going to take advantage of the separation between that asset's price and the VWAP, the moment in time where they get extended and separated from one another. That is going to become our trade entry. And our exit is going to be the nuance of them reconvening with one another here in the future. Now, I'm going to show you this here in a second on the live chart. Don't worry if you didn't get it all. We're going to move over here in just a second. But before we do that, a few tidbits. 90% of these trades, the very best ones, happen at the first 15 to 20 minutes of market open. When I say market open, I mean your market open. When you hear the official bell ring of the market you're trading, whether it's the Asian session, London session, New York session, that is the official market open. That's where we want to focus to get this trade right. And we are going to use range and level to execute that trade. So on the screen, we have our chart, and you'll see that the trading price is all the way towards the top of this candle, and our VWAP is slightly below. So there's a little bit of a premium baked into that right now. It's not too much, but we're going to go ahead and kind of move forward. As soon as the market opens, you're going to see you get a very brisk, strong up move. Now, at this point, it should be pretty evident with your eyes. Even if you have terrible eyes and they're foggy and hazy, there should be no question at this point. That is definite separation between the current price of that asset and where the VWAP sits. So the next thing that would have to take place in your mind, we definitely don't want to buy anything that's this extended without some sort of a pullback or retracement towards that VWAP. So what I would do in this case is short sell this. Now the question would become, how do you know that's the top? How do you know that's where you should short? How do I know I'm not going to get smoked or steamrolled and it's just going to go and blow me up? Well, I'm going to show you that here. What I always do, as soon as I get up, the very first thing is I mark out my levels to trade from. Now, I've done a recent video about the box theory. I use that. I've done videos about the levels. I don't want to spend too much time on that because there's videos about the VWAP. So I'm going to put those videos up here on the screen right now. That way you can reference them after you watch this one. I highly suggest you watch those if you haven't seen them. It really dials in these entry techniques. But if you can kind of take a look here, we're going to grab ourselves a horizontal line. You can see it where this asset's currently trading. Right over here is the nearest pivot I can see from the previous day. And I'm just going to lay that line right there. And if you go above that, you're going to see the next pivot is just right above that, just in this area. And I'm just going to move that all the way over here to the right of the screen. So the way I would trade this, I would be looking for some sort of fatigue or candle or something to appear between these two lines as a definitive signal to get me in short. And I would do this based off of a couple of main factors here. Let me open this up just a little bit more. Number one, we are far separated from the VWAP and we are overextended. A few minutes ago, this asset was trading at 56.80 and now we're up here towards 57.15. So we've had a significant increase here of about 40 points in a very short period of time, and we're kissing into that very first level of resistance. So what I'm going to look for here in this area is some type of fatigue. So if I move this forward here real quick, I'm going to highlight this area. For those who've watched this channel before, I'm going to put this video up on the screen right now. This is definitely an entry candle for me. Again, this is not an entry video, but that is a power of tower. I've got an impulsive green followed by a 50% retracement of the previous bar. I would enter right there at that 50%, half of this big green bar. My stop would be somewhere slightly up here, and I would target that VWAP for a profit. So if I kind of move that forward here a little bit, you'll see what happens. That's exactly what I would look for, is to reconnect somewhere with that VWAP. That's the separator trade. So the next strategy we're going to talk about here is called the KISS pivot. And this usually comes after the separator. Once we've had that retracement that moves us back into VWAP, what we're going to be looking to do is have that thing right off the VWAP, just kind of bounce off it, just kind of kiss that and either move back up or go back down, depending on what direction that we want to trade. And we'll continue to use the range and levels to execute the trade. So let's kind of go back to that chart and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So as we get closer to this VWAP and we've moved down into that area, we want to look for any kind of reversal candle. The same types of reversal candles we would have looked at the very top, the same reversal candle engulfing down here we could have got in on the VWAP bounce here. We're going to look for the same exact candlestick setup. And again, I'll put the video up there that talks about candlestick signals. So if I kind of just move this forward here for a real quick second, you're going to see we have a pretty decent bounce, a nice break of that. So my entry would be about right there with a stop slightly under the VWAP. And my target would be to go back up in to that range where we created the short trade in the first place. So all we're kind of doing is taking one trade and reversing that trade and then taking the trade again. So let's kind of move forward, if that made sense. Let's kind of move forward here a little bit, see what happens. And you'll see you kind of grind up there. Now, here's what I want to talk to you about here at this point. So you'll see here real quick, let me go back. You got into that VWAP. There's actually a secondary entry there. And now you have moved up. And where you have moved is back into that area. So again, another quiz. It's been a while since we had one of those. Based off of the knowledge you've collected in this video before we move to the live trades, you see this. Do you buy it? Yes, no? What do you think? Or what do you do here? So to me, again, we have adequate separation between the asset's price and the current VWAP, the same distance of separation we had here previously. We are up here towards this resistance. This would be my short, and then my stop would be up here. We reconvene one more time to connect with that VWAP, and let's take a look at what happens. You'll eventually find your way down there, and guess what happens? That VWAP, okay? That's what we're looking for over and over again. And this could be one asset. You could trade the whole thing all day long. So that's what we're looking to do here with the separator. We're looking to take advantage of the separation in price, trade it back to that VWAP. We're looking to pick it back up at the VWAP and trade it back up to the initial separation point. So let's move on to some live trades so you can see how all of this stuff works in a real market. All right, guys, the first separator trade has been made today. We are short NVIDIA, $114.29. So the question is why? Why did we short this? That's the question, right? Well, take a look. Based off the knowledge you collected, what is it that you see here? We are, without a doubt, we are way, way above here, right? Look at that. That's a huge move. That's definite separation. In fact, this thing was all the way down here at 110 not too long ago. So that's a really, really big move. And I've been waiting a long time to get the proper signal, but right there, I'm going to kind of highlight that for everybody. That's a good old-fashioned John Wick. That's one of my favorite. That is my favorite candle, by the way. I'm going to put that video right up here on the screen. Now, this is a straightforward trade based off of what we said. Stop's going to be up there at the high of day, and we're looking to target back into that VWAP. That's what we're looking for profits, and we're doing it based off of the separation. Now, also, if I kind of back that out, you're going to see that wasn't my own. It wasn't just the separation. It wasn't just the John Wick. There's also a third form of data that comes back in there with the level. So if I take the level, I stretch that out, you're going to see we got a good old pivot there from yesterday towards the close. And that all three of those is enough for me to go short. That's why I went short, and I feel very confident about a short like that. So we're going to come back and visit this here later, but just real quick, you probably noticed, for those who are really paying attention here with this video, you could have actually had a separator here. I wasn't fast enough to catch that, but you'll see you got a little push down there early, come back and kiss that. Also, a kiss pivot right there. I missed this one as well. I have a couple of other trades going, but you can see how it works. You got multiple trades. So even if you miss a few trades here and there, you have opportunities to get back in. So there was a separator there, a kiss pivot right there, and now we're headed for another separator. So let's kind of just come back here a little bit later. All right, guys, for the sake of time, I went ahead and fast forwarded it. We're going to go ahead and cover this position up. It was a good trade. It worked the way that we wanted to. It wasn't very stressful whatsoever. Take a look at what you have here. Very, very simple, straightforward trade. There shouldn't be much confusion here. We had the adequate separation. We moved back down into the VWAP. That's the trade. And again, like I mentioned just a minute ago, you had a couple of those here depending on which direction you wanted to take it today. There was a lot of trades on the same asset. You never even had to get off of this same chart. So maybe, just maybe, there's going to be another trade for a kiss pivot here, right? Maybe off of that level and moving back up. Now, the question will always be, hey, what about those ones that don't work, right? Because there are trades. I'm not 100%, but this is the beauty of it. As with all the strategies I teach, primarily being a reversal trader, is all of these pivots and all of these areas I enter, I don't have very much invested into the trade. So, for example, when we entered the John Wick up here, if you get stopped out of that, what are you losing versus what are you gaining? See, the risk versus reward is so much higher doing it this way than it is buying up here with like no man's land or no trader's land all the way down here. So these risks are very low. And even if you choose to buy this off the pivot right here, for example, that's a fair setup. I would want to see a little bit more, especially after a rough drop like that. But for example, let's say that you did buy that. The stop is, what are you losing here? You're not. And you don't need very many trades for you to work. Okay, so let's do a kiss pivot trade. We are short 300, which is just a tiny amount here of AMD. I'm going to tell you why I only use 300 in a second, at 106.82. So let's first talk about the trade. It should be pretty apparent at this time. We are going to use this VWAP as a resistance level. So we're bouncing off the lows. We're going to use the kissing of this VWAP as a rejection. You see, we do have some rejection there. And we're going to look for this to retrace back down to the low. Now, by this time also, you should have seen, hey, there was a separator right here, right? Followed by another separator. So there was some pretty good trades, both to the long and the short, if you would have caught that. Now back to the 300. It's getting a little bit late in the day. I normally don't trade after lunch because there's just such good activity. And I'll be honest, I've been very hesitant to buy kiss pivots to the upside or to long those pivots because the market continues to be aggressively downside trending. So kind of wanting to stay to the short side. And look, that has been a little bit of a mistake because you can look back at a few of these charts today. They have ripped like hell on those kiss pivots. So, there was value there, but, that's what I preferred to do. And because it's late and because it's already down, that's the way I've decided. So let's kind of go through this real quick here with the arrow. I've got the rejection here. You've got, in this case, you're not really at a sweet spot level in terms of a definitive rejection level, but you do have a bunch of lower highs, so you're downtrending. And I'm just kind of expecting the sort of pattern to fatigue somewhere out of this, move up, and then perhaps back down into the low. So we'll kind of come back and see what happens. As far as stop losses, I'm kind of looking at just somewhere up here in this area for a potential stop, but we'll see. Just let it play out. All right, for the sake of time, moving forward here, we got exactly what it is we were looking for. And to be honest with you, I'm going to take this money and get out of here. I cannot wait to get out of this trade. It has been somewhat boring and definitely not my style. But hey, a promise is a promise. But let's go over this here real quick. Small gains on this one, but hey, everything matters, right? It all counts. Nice rejection off of there. And the reason I said it was a bit of torture is it took a while to break down, and it was just kind of haggling. And a lot of that has to do with the time frame. As I said, there's a reason I don't really like trading so late in the day, but I did it anyway. And we got a nice push down, and we got a little bit lower. I wouldn't be surprised to see it break, but I made it clear, I think, at this point that, I'm much more preferable of being a reversal trader and shorting up here than shorting after a move. This is something I generally do not like to do, but I really wanted to show you guys how that VWAP works and why it's so powerful, and that, you can always kind of manufacture a trade from that, whether it's to the upside or downside. So there you go. Two nice trades. One, the separator, showing you how it works. And then, of course, the KISS pivot here, moving off of that VWAP, this time to the downside instead of the upside. All right, guys, it has been an absolute pleasure to do this video today. I hope you got some value out of it, and I hope you can see the true power of the VWAP. And it has the same effect on you as it did me, and can really get you to that next level as a trader. So in a quick review, the one trade I like the most, obviously, is the reversal trade, is that separator. I really like those parabolics or those flushes, and to reverse those off of supports and resistance. Again, I got tons of videos about that here on the channel, but the separator takes advantage of that separation between the price and the VWAP and the reconnection. Now, if you don't like that trade, you miss that trade, or whatever happens in your world, you can always do that KISS pivot. Wait for that retracement to confirm the VWAP. See buyers or sellers stepping in and confirming your bias on that VWAP, and then look for the retracement back to the nearest point of support or the nearest point of resistance. Now, as always, if you have any questions, we sometimes move very quickly through these videos, and a lot of you are brand new, some of you are advanced and more experienced, but if you have any questions, put those down in the description box. I do want to take this time, as with every video, to remind you that every single week, my wife and I put out a free gains guide. We list the greatest stocks to trade for that week. We list everything about the market and all of its premium and potent levels for you to trade. And we always include a bunch of tips in there as well. So if you're looking to just kind of get further advanced with your trading, or just get on the same page, or have some sort of plan coming into each week, make sure you fill out that. It's right down there. It's completely free. It's in the description box, the gains guide. On that note, man, it's been a total pleasure today. Take care. Trade well. Talk to you soon. Cheers.